guys, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Political Lens. Today we're going to be discussing is revelations happening now, years of AI prophecy, and the shocking signs of the times. We're going to get right into it as we always do. So without further ado, here we go. The world feels unsettled. Wars ignite across continents, alliances fracture. Nations threaten one another with weapons powerful enough to erase cities in minutes. The artificial intelligence grows faster than governments can regulate it. Economic systems tremble under inflation, debt, cyber warfare, and digital surveillance. Religious tensions rise and protest movements grow louder. Trust in the institutions fade. Every deadline seems to carry the same message. Something is changing. And for millions of people, especially Christians who study biblical prophecy, these events sound eerily familiar. They turn to Revelations. They open the King James Bible and read verses written nearly 2,000 years ago, describing kingdoms rising against kingdoms and deception spreading across the earth. Plagues, famine, earthquakes, global conflict, and a final struggle between good and evil. To some believers, it feels less like ancient symbolism and more like a prophetic mirror reflecting the modern age. But is it prophecy unfolding before our eyes? Or is humanity doing what it was always done, searching for meaning during times of fear and uncertainty? That question sits at the center of one of the oldest debates in human history. For instance, the book of Revelation describes four horsemen: conquest, war, famine, and death. The supporters of prophetic interpretations point to current events and see direct parallels. Ongoing conflicts in Eastern Europe, tensions in the Middle East, instability involving China and Taiwan, the nuclear threats, terrorism, and cyber attacks, and a growing unrest across Western democracies all seem to echo the language of a nation rising against nation. When food prices rise globally and supply chains collapse, some remember the verses about scarcity and their economic hardship. When pandemics sweep across the nations, they think about pestilence. And when the governments discuss digital currencies, biometric identification, and centralized systems of commerce, some connect those developments to the mark of the beast. The idea in Revelations is that a future world system could control buying or selling. Even advances in artificial intelligence have entered prophetic discussions. Some wonder whether humanity is building systems powerful enough to manipulate truth itself. Deepfake surveillance, algorithms, predictive policing, facial recognition technologies once considered science fiction now exists in real life. In prophecies, teachers, this resembles the kind of centralized global control Revelation had warned about. And then there is Israel. For many Christians, the modern state of Israel plays a major role in end times theology. Wars surrounding Jerusalem and rising tensions involving Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and neighboring nations. Some believe the gathering of nations around Israel fulfills passage found not only in Revelations, but also in Ezekiel, Daniel, and Zechariah. To believers, these are not random coincidences. They argue that no previous generation possessed the technological, political, and military conditions necessary to fulfill many of these prophecies literally. A global economic system, possible now, worldwide surveillance, possible now, instant communications across the planet, and reality, weapons capable of mass destruction. Reality, the ability for the whole world to watch major events unfold simultaneously. Social media and state broadcasting already accomplishes that for everyday use. And from this perspective, the modern world appears uniquely aligned with the prophetic scripture. But there is another side to this discussion. Skeptics argue that every generation has believed it was living in the end times. During the Black Death, people thought that Revelations was unfolding. During the fall of Rome, people thought civilization itself was ending. During the World War I and World War II, many were convinced the Antichrist had arrived. Some believed Napoleon Bonaparte was the beast. Others believed it was Adolf Hitler. During the Cold War, nuclear annihilation seemed inevitable, and Revelation once again dominated the sermons and the headlines. Yet history continued. The skeptics say Revelation is highly symbolic literature written to persecuted Christians under the Roman rule. They argued that many passages were never intended as literal predictions of modern geopolitics, but as spiritual metaphors about the oppression, empire corruption, and perseverance. They also point out something deeply human. People naturally search for patterns during chaotic times. Psychologists call this apophenia, the tendencies to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated events. When the world becomes frightening, the human mind seeks narrative and order. The ancient prophecies become frameworks through which people interpret uncertainty. And honestly, there are reasons for caution. Not every war is Armageddon. Not every leader is the Antichrist. Not every technological advancement is the mark of the beast. History is filled with failed predictions made by people absolutely convinced they had decoded prophecy. Dates were set, movements formed, fear spread, time moved on. Still, even skeptics admit something remarkable about Revelation. Its themes remain timeless. Empires rising and falling, corrupt power, economic control, false prophets, human pride, violence, hope, judgment, and redemption. These ideas repeat throughout history because the human nature repeats throughout history. And perhaps that is why Revelation continues to resonate so strongly today. The modern world genuinely does feel different. Information moves instantly. Political division can grow sharper. All blurs the line between truth and illusion. Nuclear powers stand in direct confrontation. Religious tensions intensify. Economic uncertainty spreads across continents. The speed and scale of the modern crises create a sense that humanity is approaching some kind of turning point, whether spiritual, political, technological, or civilizational. For believers, these are signs. For skeptics, these are cycles. And for others, it may be both. Because even if Revelation is symbolic rather than predictive, the warnings inside it still matter. It warns about worshiping power. It warns us about corruption and deception. And it warns us about sacrificing morality for control and comfort. It warns that societies can lose themselves spiritually while advancing technologically. And perhaps that is the deeper question hidden beneath all these debates about prophecy. Not whether the world is ending tomorrow, but what kind of world humanity is creating right now. Maybe the coincidence is accidental, or maybe ancient writers understand enduring truths about human civilization so deeply that their world continues echoing across centuries. Either way, when people read Revelation during times like these, they are confronting more than just prophecy. They are confronting fear, hope, and morality, power, morality, and the possibility that the history may be moving towards something greater than itself. And that question, whether divine or human, continues to haunt every generation that watches the world grow darker and wonders what comes next. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.